Good morning, everyone. My name is Timothy Lee, and I am a mining analyst here at Red Cloud Securities. We welcome Kevin Weston, President and CEO of Whitehorse Gold. He will speak to us about Whitehorse's Skukum Gold project in the Yukon, where it is drilling some high-grade gold and silver, expanding on the resource base. Kevin, you have 10 minutes, and then we'll have a 5-minute Q&A at the end of the session. Attendees, please feel free to ask questions using the Q&A link below. Take it away, Kevin.
Great. Thank you, Tim, and welcome everybody to our presentation today. I have to show you our disclaimers. There we go. And if anybody wants to take the time to read them, feel free to go onto our website, whitehorsegold.ca, to get into them in a little more detail. So, what is Whitehorse Gold? We have a high-grade resource in the Yukon. It's a district-scale property, covers 170 square kilometers. It has resources over 3 separate deposits, and it has high potential for additional resources over the 24 or so targets that have been identified. We have a very strong management team with experience in taking small companies to development and production, and we hope to do the same here. Here's our capital markets profile. You can see we have 52.7 million shares outstanding, and you can see our share ownership broken down. We have a very supportive major shareholder in Silvercorp Metals, and you can see insiders control approximately 11% of the stock. We have a institutional following, as well as our retail, presumptive retail of about 47%. We have analyst coverage available through Jock Wortman at Laurentian Bank and also at Red Cloud Securities. So a little more about Skukum Gold. The project sits about 85 kilometers along an all-weather road from Whitehorse, Yukon. It sits on Carcross-Tagish First Nation traditional territory, and the road to the site is maintained year-round to within about 20 kilometers of the site, and then we take over from there. Additionally, it sits about 185 kilometers from the deepwater port at Skagway. We have 100% ownership of the 170 square kilometer land package, and on that package there has been, prior to us taking over, approximately 141,000 meters of historic drilling. It is a brownfield project. There is a past producing mine on it and the past producing mill, which we'll talk about shortly. And we feel that it's been underexplored, and there's great potential to move it forward. Looking in a little closer to our line package, the red stars show where we have resources today. The Mount Skukum is the past producing mine, and it produced from 86 to 88, approximately 79,000 ounces of gold from approximately 230,000 tons of mill feed. And the mill recoveries were approximately 90%. The mill is on site. It's still in good shape. The mill shell is in excellent condition, and there is some equipment inside the mill which we believe could be used in a future development scenario. The other 2 deposits, Skukum Creek is our largest resource to date, and we'll talk more about it. And the Goddell is the second largest resource. Across those 3 deposits where we have resources, there's over 6,000 meters of historic underground development, accessed through 5 separate portals. Here's our resource estimate. You can see the Skukum Creek deposit, as I said, is our largest resource. There's over 1 million tons in the indicated category at 7.8 grams per ton gold equivalent for 249,000 ounces. When we say gold equivalent, we're only talking about gold and silver. And in the inferred category, we have over 500,000 tons already at 6.2 grams per ton gold equivalent for 107,000 ounces. And then you can also see Goddell and Mount Skukum there for total indicated resources across the 3 deposits of 1.3 million tons at 7.8 grams per ton gold equivalent, or 335,000 ounces, and inferred at 1.1 million tons at 6.9 grams per ton gold equivalent for 245,000 ounces. the picture on the right here, you can see the past producing mill. It's a leach plant with a Merrill-Crowe finish. Like I said, the shell's in excellent condition. We'd certainly be able to reuse the comminution equipment and likely the leach tanks. The blue building to the right is the old truck shop, and we have a 50-person camp just off to the left of this picture. And here we see the Skukum Creek deposit. You can see the two portals going into the mountain. You can see the surface expression of the rainbow vein and the Coon vein. Rainbow vein being the largest zone within the Skukum Creek deposit. This deposit was actually developed back in the 80s for production. So the 1350 meter level was going to be a drill horizon. The 1300 meter level was going to be the mining horizon. And internal to the mine, from the 1300 meter down, there's 75 meters vertical ramp accessing the 1225 meter level. Additionally, internally, there are waste passes, ore passes, ventilation raises. This was being set up for production. It's considered an intermediate sulfidation epithermal deposit, and we've got gold and silver rich polymetallic quartz vein, and they trend northeast. The deposit has been delineated for over a kilometer of strike and over 700 meters vertical, and there's over 3 kilometers of underground development within the mine. This long section shows the 4 deposits, Berg, Rainbow 2, and Rainbow. Rainbow, again, I said, was the largest of the 3 of the 4 zones. We just recently put out a step-out hole on the Rainbow 2, which was quite exciting, SC21015, which yielded over 4 meters, 4.2 meters of 27 gram per ton gold and 346 gram per ton silver for approximately 32 grams per ton gold equivalent in that hole. That being a significant step out here, just showing the expansion potential of the Skukum Creek deposit. Additionally, you look across the valley here, you see the rocket target, and it may be an extension of the Skukum Creek deposit. We're just in the early throes of determining that. The Goddell deposit, very interesting deposit. It's on a 5-kilometer trend that goes east-west, and the Goddell itself sits here on the western extremity. It's the strike length that's been delineated today is only 500 meters long, so only represents about 10% of the total strike length. And over on the east side, over here, there's a historic antimony deposit back in the 60s. 3 separate adits into the mountain. The potential here is very good. It is very steep and long drilling because of the topography. So we drilled a couple of holes into it this year, which we're putting out. It has been delineated over 500 meters, as I said, and only over 200 meters vertical. And you can see here, there's also 1,000 meters of decline going down into above the deposit. It's made up of 2 veins. We don't know where this is going to go, but we see a lot of potential, a lot of work that needs to be done here for us to unlock it. Then the Mount Skukum deposit is the past producer. On the right side, on the bottom, you can see a long section showing the Cirque, Brandy, and Lake Zone. The Cirque was where the bulk of the past production came from. On the top of the long section, you can see here a plan view, and it also shows all of the development within there. This is the smallest of our 3 deposits, and our geologists do believe that there's good potential here. If you look on the long section down here, this blue line that hopefully everybody can see I'm highlighting, that basically represents the limit of the drilling to depth on the various zones. And so our goal is to test those depth extensions to see if they can continue. And as I said, there's past production. There's over 2.5 kilometers of underground development here. So what are the key catalysts for us? Well, we're just wrapping up our exploration program. We raised $15 million this spring, and we put that towards drilling 17,000 meters across our 3 deposits, total of 44 holes. To date, we've only been able to announce the results from 7 of those holes, so 37 more holes to go. The reason for that, of course, is like everybody else, there's a lot of samples in the assay labs. The assay labs are running quite long delays, just because of the size of the programs everyone's running this year. So between now, the end of the year, and probably into Q1 2022, we'll have news flow on the remaining 37 holes. Additionally, we did an extensive geophysical program this year, covering most of our property, and also a extensive surface mapping program, along with sampling, which will be assaying and testing for alteration minerals in order to help us identify additional targets. There are over 24 targets on this property, as I mentioned, and we feel there's potential for some of those to become discoveries in the future. Additionally, we will be looking at other technical programs as we look at program development paths forward, such as metallurgical studies, in-house engineering, and advancing our environmental permits. So, in summary, who are we? We have a very nice deposit sitting about 85 kilometers from Whitehorse. We have great access. We have high-grade resources that have potential to be expanded, and we have potential to make new discoveries on our own land package. So we think it's a great story, and that everyone should be listening to.
Great. Thank you very much for the informative presentation, Kevin. We'll now do the Q&A session. We do have a question or two already. First, are the adits accessible, or are they capped? And can you touch on the potential for underground drilling?
Okay. None of the adits are capped. They're all accessible. Some are flooded, some have snow in them, but we can get underground at the Skukum Creek deposit, and the ground conditions are excellent. It's a massive granodiorite, and that's developed back in the late 80s, and still the ground conditions are excellent. So we don't see any geotechnical reasons why we won't be able to get back in underground.
Great. And one other question here, given that this is an intermediate epithermal system, can you touch on the base metal content? Is there any potential to include base metals in a future resource?
There are base metals. They have never been included in a resource estimate to date. They haven't always been assayed for. A number of drill programs on these deposits. Some of these deposits were discovered in over 100 years ago, and so there's been a lot of different exploration programs, and we're the first ones to look at this as a fulsome project, looking at the whole package. And no, unfortunately, none of the base metals have been considered, but there is potential. So we will be looking at that in the future. Not to mention our antimony showing on Goddell, which also requires follow-up.
Great. And one final very quick question, but looking at some of the exploration potential, would other targets fit within kind of a spoke and hub model, feeding a central mill?
Well, that's the way I see it. We do have the mill is almost equidistant to Mount Skukum Creek, and Goddell. One scenario could be to bring a deposit on, a small deposit on, become a small producer, while you continue to expand the resources at the next deposit, and then you increase capacity of the mill that way, bringing material in. So definitely a hub and spoke model is very realistic here, but it's going to take some drilling to prove it.
Great. Thank you again, Kevin, and thank you everyone for joining us today.